Hey y'all, this is Sunny from SPICECAMVISUALS and welcome to another episode of Art Talk with Spice. So I was actually going to have a completely different theme for this episode, but I got way more questions for my Q&A segment than I thought I would, so I'm just going to make this entire episode about me answering these questions. So let's do it. Has it been hard finding clients? Yes and no. So when I first moved to Atlanta and started doing photography professionally, I used to do this probably annoying thing where I would go on Twitter and I would just like research Atlanta photographers, ATL photographers needed or something like that, and I would just like comment my work or comment my website and stuff, or comment my booking flyer under people's tweets, tweets of people asking for photographers and stuff like that. And at first, I landed a lot of gigs that way, but honestly, a lot of those gigs were not gigs that I would have even wanted to have in retrospect. In retrospect, every gig that I've had so far, I'm glad I did, because every shoot that I have is a lesson, So at first I was doing that, but when you do that, you kind of get any kind of clients. So that's exactly what was happening to me. I was getting like any kind of clients. I was getting some people that were like kind of frustrating to work with, or just like really last minute, or just like didn't really respect like the photographer or like the craft and stuff like that. I definitely think that it's a good like first step to do, just to get yourself out there and just to branch out wherever you live. But it's not something that I recommend doing long term, because you're just going to continuously get like any kind of clients, As far as it being hard to find clients, it's not necessarily hard to find clients, but sometimes it can be hard to connect with the kind of clients that you want to connect with sometimes. But that's why networking is important. That's why it's important to just do as much work as you can to get as much content out as you can, so that you can show the world your work. Because once you show the world your work, and what I've noticed with myself, at least, because I can only speak for myself, what I've noticed for myself is that as I put more of my work on social media, and as I worked with more people, my work started to circulate more. Word of mouth of me started to circulate more around Atlanta, and I started getting more and more clients. So it got to a point where I didn't even have to, comment under people's tweets or posts or anything anymore. People started coming to me, or just booking through my website without even asking me about, my rates and stuff like that first. So I would say yes and no. At first it was hard for me to find clients. Now that I'm solidified in my identity as a photographer and a digital artist, I know what kind of photography I enjoy doing the most, and I know what kind of clients I enjoy working with the most. What platform do you use to edit your lit self-portraits? First of all, thank you for saying that my self-portraits are lit. That's real cool. I always really, really love when people tell me that they love my work. No matter how good I get at photography and digital art, it just always makes me very, very happy when people tell me that they enjoy my work, and especially my self-portraits. I actually use Lightroom and Photoshop mainly. So if I'm not doing any digital artwork, surrealism type of stuff, or if I'm not doing anything fancy with my self-portrait, then I just use Lightroom. But honestly, especially as a digital artist, I'm kind of biased. I like Photoshop way more than Lightroom, because Photoshop has everything that Lightroom has, but Lightroom doesn't have everything that Photoshop has. So there's some things that I find are easier to use, or easier to do on Photoshop compared to Lightroom. And I just, usually use one of the presets that I have, or I just make a whole new preset depending on the vibe of the picture, what I want the picture to, give off emotionally. But for my digital artwork, my surrealism self-portraits and digital artwork self-portraits, I always use Photoshop for that. I use a bunch of layers. I'm actually going to start doing tutorials on here to show y'all how I, make my surrealism self-portraits and surrealism photos in general. So I'm gonna start doing that soon, so just keep an eye out for that. What/who inspires you? Everything. Sometimes I'll see a random sign in the street. I'll see a random person on the side of the road and see the outfit that they're wearing. I'll see like a mother and child or something. One day I was walking through Ponce City Market and I was walking past like a jean shop or something, and one of the mannequins had like no clothes on and was like, you know, white. The entire mannequin was white like mannequins usually are, but then the torso was like gold, like metallic. That inspired me to incorporate the metallic statue concept that I've been, you know, showing in some of my artwork recently. So really just everything. I take inspiration from pretty much everywhere. You know, I just let the ideas, I try to let ideas flow to me, and, you know, every day and every time, you know, everything that I experience, you know, and interactions that I have with people, you know, all of those things inspire my artwork. You know, all of my artwork, even, you know, like my poetry and stuff like that. It's just like, you know, I walk outside, I experience the world. It's experiencing the world that inspires me, and experiencing other people that inspires my artwork. One of my biggest inspirations is Jean-Michel Basquiat. Amazing artist. His artwork just inspired me my whole life. Like, I always loved his artwork. I've always loved him and Frida Kahlo's artwork specifically. I love the elements that they incorporated into their work. I loved how unique their work was compared to other works that were popular during their time period, you know, and just like their personas as well, and just who they were as people. Just inspired by all the artists, especially Black artists, especially Black queer artists who came before me, you know, who paved the way for me. I'm definitely inspired by all of them. When did you know that you were a creative artist? So I really knew that I was a creative artist when I learned to write, because my first artistic medium was writing, was poetry, writing short stories and stuff like that when I was a child. Honestly, like literally in elementary school. In fourth grade specifically, I remember my teacher, Miss Nasser, bless her heart, great woman. She used to always just let me like read my books, like the little short stories and stuff. I would write short stories, and I would like draw illustrations and stuff like that. And she would let me read them in front of the class, and she would like have them on display in front of the class so that everybody can read it and stuff like that. Like, she was really, really supportive. As early as elementary school, when I learned how to write, that's when I really started to understand that I was a creative. Even though I didn't really know what a creative was back then, I started to understand, like, you know, I'm able to create whole scenarios and stories and whole worlds in my head, and I'm able to transmute them onto paper. And then, you know, as I got older, I started to draw more. I was a really big Naruto nerd. So I used to just sit in my room, like drawing anime, drawing Naruto. I probably still have those drawings somewhere. Maybe one day I'll show y'all. I used to really just like sit in my room for hours and just draw and draw and draw. It just brought me so much peace, you know, as a child. And it just also helped me understand myself and understand the world, especially poetry and drawing. It really just helped me to conceptualize like who I was as a person, what being a person means. Like, it just helped me understand like a lot of things that people typically don't explain to Black children. Do you have a piece that you dislike but hella people like? Nah, I really don't. I know that that's true for a lot of artists, and probably somewhere down the line in my career I'll experience that. But as of right now, there's no artwork that I put out that I don't like. First of all, I'm not gonna put out anything that I don't like. That's just how I am. You know, I am never going to put out anything that I do not like. All the work that I put out is work that I love. You know, I don't have anything out now that I release that I don't like but everybody dislikes. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, honestly, a lot. I'm a perfectionist, honestly, in a lot of ways. And I'm not gonna put out any artwork that I don't like. Those are all the questions that I'm going to answer today. I really enjoyed doing this though. I really like talking. I really like answering questions, so please feel free to ask me questions at any time. You know, if you ever, you know, have questions about photography, I am more than happy to answer people's questions. I love when people DM me, you know, asking me questions about photography and digital art. You know, I have no problem answering people's questions. I know that when I first started, I had a lot of questions and I felt like I couldn't really ask anybody about them. With artwork, you know, we're a community, and that community is so important, and it's so important for us to uplift each other and to help each other. So if I can help someone by giving them pointers or sharing the knowledge that I know, so that I can prevent somebody from having like a negative experience that I've had in photography or the digital art world or anything like that, you know, that I'm gonna, you know, tell them, you know, I'm gonna give them any advice that I can. So if you have any questions about photography, contracts, things like that, you know, just hit me up. I'm really nice. All right, y'all. So before I close out this episode, thank you so much for watching another episode of Art Talk with Spice. But I do have some really, really big announcements coming and changes coming to SPICECAMVISUALS next month. August 25th specifically is going to mark the 1-year anniversary of SPICECAMVISUALS. This year has been so crazy for me, a lot of up and downs, and a lot of growth for me as a person and an artist and a creative, you know, so I'm super excited for that. I have a really big announcement that I'm going to make on August 25th specifically, so just make sure that you're checking out my videos every week and just keeping an eye out and an ear out for, you know, all of the you know, announcements that I have coming. Last thing, major change that I will tell y'all about is that I'm going to be taking all of the small prints off of my website. They're all going to be off by August. So if you want any small print, meaning any print that's smaller than 24 by 36, you got to get them now. You got to get them now, because in August they're not going to be on my website anymore. I'm not going to be selling them on my website anymore. Keep an eye out for all of those things. I have a bunch of exciting and amazing things coming, and I'm so excited to show y'all all of the content that I've been working on, all of the things that I've been working on. Thank you for checking out my channel. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and watch me talk. Make sure that you like this video and my first video. If you haven't watched it already, make sure that you go watch that too. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media, SPICECAMVISUALS on Instagram, Twitter. SPICECAMVISUALS is my website. Check all of that out. And until next time, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for hanging out with me. And I'll see y'all next week.